Folks, I know you're here for some fresh iPad tips, so no preamble today, let's just jump straight in. First up, multitasking, and specifically a feature Apple killed off and then brought back because everyone got pretty cross about it, and which most people still don't actually use properly. It's called slide over, and before anything else, let's make sure it's enabled. You need to go to settings, multitasking and gestures, split view and slide over, and make sure that's turned on. Okay, so from a full screen app, let's just swipe up to bring in the dock and then grab an app. I'm going to use music and then just drag it onto your main screen. You then get this iPhone sized floating window that sits on top of everything else. When you're done with them, just tap the three dots at the top, choose close, and you're straight back into your full screen. Next up, if you want your apps properly organized rather than stacked, just go into Windows and then move and resize, and then you can tile everything neatly into even sized quarters. You can also do this by hovering over the green button at the top of any window, which should look familiar if you're using a Mac. If you've got a keyboard connected, there are also two keyboard shortcuts worth knowing while we're here. Command and Tab switches between apps exactly like a Mac, and then Globe and F takes you into full screen mode instantly wherever you're at. Next, let's talk about making the iPad feel like your iPad rather than the default one that Apple ships you. Now, if we start with the dock, by default, it shows recent apps and then your app library, which means that random apps can sometimes keep appearing that you didn't put there. To change this, just go into the dock settings and make sure to turn both of those off. Now, you've either got a very minimal dock with just the apps that you choose or nothing at all, but either way, much calmer. Now, with Control Center, most people add a few things and then forget it's there, but this little menu that appears when you swipe down from the top right is actually really handy, and it's very customizable now. If you're in Control Center and then select Add a Control, it's basically like an app store, but for your controls. There are far more controls in there than you'd expect, and you can even separate them into little pages using these icons here or by swiping down or up. So alarm clock is one that I don't think most people have found yet, and I use it all the time. Likewise, the screen recording is one that I'm using right now. So thinking about wallpapers, you can actually build a genuinely custom one rather than just picking from Apple's defaults or the ones that you've bought from your favorite tech YouTuber. Well worth 5 minutes of your time to play around with this. Let's say you've installed my Wave 2-pack here, but you want to tone it down a bit. You can just swipe right and get a black and white version, or a duotone, or this cool color wash, which you can then customize via this style picker. And then when you're happy, you just hit add and then save it as your wallpaper pair. And even in Apple's pre-made wallpapers, like this Pride Luminance one that just came out, if you download that wallpaper pack onto your iPad and then swipe past all the preloaded options, you can actually choose your color combinations with this funky glass vented design. So up to 5 colors you can pick, and then you can create a custom pack in this new style. Pretty cool. Default apps is a really good one to set up. Just go over to settings and then apps, then select default apps. From here, you can swap out, say, regular Apple Mail for Spark, or Safari for Google as your browser, or select your favorite password manager. Now, I'm really curious to see whether AI apps will end up in this list later this year, because right now, to use a third-party AI assistant properly, you're doing a lot of workarounds. If Apple changed that, it actually does change quite a lot. Now, I could make a whole video on home screen layouts. In fact, I probably will make a video like that really soon. But the one thing I did want to show you is in settings, home screen, and then app library, you'll want to change these two features. Firstly, make sure that newly downloaded apps are saved in your app library only. This means that they're not going to just end up randomly on your home screen after you downloaded them, and then you can choose which ones make it onto your precious home screen yourself. Next, make sure you add Show App Library on dock. This is a really handy shortcut to get to all your apps if you're ever looking for one to save your searching or swiping around on your home screen. And finally, locking away sensitive apps behind Face ID. To do this, you just find the app you want to lock away, long press on it, and then hit Options, and then Require Face ID. And then once you do this, they don't just lock, they actually disappear from search results, and they won't show up in notifications either. Really useful for all kinds of reasons, but one that you might not have thought about is that if you know that there are some apps that you'll probably abuse if they're too accessible, this is a really easy way way to add a bit of friction and stop you getting distracted. Before we go on, some big news. You might remember that I tested this last year. This is the Dynamic Folio from Moft, and I called it the best iPad case you can buy. And while I stand by that, there was one tiny thing that was bugging me, and that was the exposed corners on the iPad. Well, they actually listened. This is their brand new Dynamic Folio, and they finally added full 360-degree corner protection. It's got the same sleek form, but now I don't have a mini heart attack every time I put my iPad down a little bit too hard. Now on my iPad Pro here, it feels premium, rugged, but still incredibly slim. And the reason it fits perfectly into today's video is the origami design. It gives you over 20 angles, which is essential if you're actually trying to use your iPad for some of these tips I've been showing you. For example, there's theater mode. I use this for watching content most of the time. It raises the screen much closer to eye level, which is also a lifesaver for my neck during long edits or traveling. But for me, the game changer is creative mode, because most cases are just too wobbly, but this one is rock solid for working with an Apple Pencil. If I'm storyboarding my next video or taking notes, having that ergonomic 15-degree tilt makes the iPad feel like a dedicated drawing tablet. And then there's dual screen mode. I use this to kind of cross-pollinate my work, so I can be checking thumbnail references on my phone while I'm over here working on my iPad. And then this is the only case I've found that does a proper vertical mode that doesn't tip over. If you're using your iPad for reading or scrolling vertical socials, this is the only way to do it hands-free. Now you can even get this modular magnetic Apple Pencil holder that makes sure your Apple Pencil doesn't accidentally fall off into the abyss of your backpack while you're traveling. So yeah, Moft just made the best iPad case you can buy. Again, it's become the hub for my entire iPad setup. And the good news is it's available for all iPad models too. You can check out the latest bundles at this code or the link in the description. And a big thanks to Moft for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to some more iPad tips. Okay, so files and folders. The Files app is genuinely underrated and most people treat it like an afterthought, but here's what it can actually do. You see, now you can add a folder directly from Files into your dock by long pressing and then selecting Add to Dock. Exactly the same as on a Mac. I tend to keep my downloads folder there, but you can use any folder you like. Just one tap and then everything you've downloaded is right there, done. Now also you can select multiple files or folders at once, just use 2 fingers and then swipe across them. It's much faster than tapping select individually. Now with iPadOS 26, you can now customize folders with colors and icons. You just right click or long press on any folder to change those settings. It's a small thing, but it's genuinely useful if you work across a lot of projects. Also, I tend to use the list view in the Files app. Now you can customize this too, just tap the 3 dots and then you can choose which columns appear in this view. So you can have date modified, file kind, and then also size. You can just pick what's actually relevant to how you work rather than just living with the defaults. Now, one more thing on the Files app, if you long press on any file and choose Get Info, you can then change which app opens it up by default. So if you'd rather open a PDF in a third-party app instead of Preview, you can set that once and then forget about it. Now next, here are some Apple Pencil tips for you. Not tips of the pencils, I mean things you can try out. So if you've got the Apple Pencil Pro, you've got a squeeze gesture that does almost nothing useful by default. But if you go into settings and then Apple Pencil, you can assign the squeeze to trigger a shortcut. And that means you can make it do almost anything, like set your heating to come on or defrost your car or start a chat with Claude, you name it. I will at some point make a video about shortcuts, so let me know in the comments if that's of interest and I'll bump it up in my production schedule. Now beyond that, there is Scribble. First, make sure this is turned on in settings and the Apple Pencil menu, and then you can just write anywhere that there's a text field. There's no keyboard required. You can also scratch out a word to delete it or hold and drag to select text and then adjust the selection. And you can search in Safari just by writing into the search bar. Pretty cool. Also, if your iPad is completely locked, you can just tap it with your Apple Pencil and it'll automatically open a new quick note. It's like having unlimited post-it notes, but you don't lose them. Also, if you need to draw a shape, your iPad can now have perfect shapes appear. Just draw a rough idea of a shape and then hold your Apple Pencil down as you complete it, and boom, you've got a geometrically perfect shape. This works for all kinds of shapes too, not just circles and squares. Give it a try. Next, let's talk about screenshots on an iPad, which are still pretty awkward. That weird button combination is fine, but if you're in the middle of something, it is a bit of a pain. Instead, you can do what I do, which is swipe up from the bottom left corner of the screen. Now you'll need to enable this first. This is in settings, multitasking and gestures, and then swipe finger from corner. Now, once this is on, this is probably the fastest way to take a screenshot. Now this next one's a bit more specific, but I really like it. If you're watching a video and there's a QR code on screen like the one I showed you earlier on, screenshot the frame and then look for the live text button in the corner of the screenshot. Next, just tap the QR code and the link will open straight away in Safari. No need to find another device to scan it with. Now, if you haven't got a keyboard connected, you can use the on-screen keyboard, but did you know you can split it? And this is really handy if, like me, you're an iPad mini user and you don't want half your screen taken up with a full-size keyboard. You see, you just grab the keyboard with your thumbs and pull it apart, and now you can use it two-handed whilst holding your iPad. Much more comfortable, and then when you're ready, you can just drag it back and snap it together. Now, the menu bar was new for iPadOS last year. This is the bar that runs along the top of the screen, and that changes depending on which app you're in, and most people ignore it. So in a notes or a document app, it will give you things like text formatting, whereas in Safari, it gives you browsing history. Just get in the habit of glancing at it when you open a new app, and you'll probably find something useful there. Next up, we have flick gestures. So you can flick your apps left or right to snap it to that half of your iPad screen, whereas flicking down will send the app to the dock, or flicking up to the full size of that app. Now, this does take a bit of practice, but it's a really fast way to reposition everything without precise tapping. Okay, here are some things that don't really fit neatly into a category, but I think are worth sharing. First of all, there is Line Guide in Apple Books. And if you've never checked out this app, it's actually really solid. There are tons of books in here that are free to read, and others that are very low cost, and others with audiobooks that you can buy. Anyway, when you found a book that you want to read, you just tap the screen where you're reading and then go into this little button in the bottom right, and then you can enable a focus line that highlights the line you are on and blurs out everything else. Genuinely a really underrated feature for anyone who loses their place easily when you're reading. Next, there's a preview. Well, most people use this just to view documents and then nothing else, but you can also use it to mark up documents and contracts directly in the app. So things like signatures, annotations, the lot. And then you can also use it as a scanner to create a document from any physical page. It's a surprisingly capable app, just like the Mac equivalent. Cross-device copy and paste is next. So if you've got your iPhone and your iPad near each other and they're signed into the same Apple ID, you can three-finger pinch on your iPhone to copy whatever you've got selected, like this photo here, and then do a three-finger drop on your iPad, paste it there, just like magic. No AirDrop, no shared note, and it works with text too. And then finally, background images in messages. You can actually set custom background images in individual message threads like this, and then pick a photo or one of the pre-made backgrounds. Once you've set it up, it'll work across all your Apple devices. A little small thing, but it does make the messaging app feel a lot more personal. Okay folks, that is your lot. If you found something interesting in there that you didn't know about, let me know which one in the comments. Always interesting to see which of these actually land. And if you want more of this kind of content, the subscribe button is right over there and it's completely free to use. Meanwhile, here's another iPad video that I'm sure you'll love. See you in the next one.